Hey there, everybody. Sea Spring podcast coming at you. We're here with Lee and Eliza, just talking about the emergency shelter system and supportive housing in Victoria and seeing what their experiences have been and are and what improvements could be made to make it work better for everybody. So, Lee, do you want to tell me a bit about your experience?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Lee. I just got housed. So I was in Rock Bay Landing for about 9 months. And I know that was my second time in Rock Bay. My first time in Rock Bay, I was actually kicked out. I got lifetime banned. And it was very easy to get lifetime banned from the shelters, I had noticed. And even just yelling at the staff would get you banned. And they have it sounds really great that they've got a zero tolerance policy for violence, but what they also mean is you can't even yell at them. If you're dysregulated in any way and you're having a hard time, they've got a low tolerance for any kind of sass or anything. So I found it very easy to get banned, and it was a bit of an effort to get back in. So it's not hard to do to get banned.
And then have you moved on now from Rock Bay?
Yeah, I got housed. I found a place in Esquimalt. My situation is a bit unique or different. Thankfully, I'm not chained to the PWD system in the province. I have a medical pension through the military, so it pays a bit more. So I was able to get market rental, and that was the only reason I was able to get housed, was that I could somewhat afford the rental here. And if you're on PWD, you're waiting 2-3 years in supportive housing, waiting for somebody to come up that's going to fit your budget. So I'm very thankful for what I have.
And before you were in Rock Bay, I know you had some harrowing experiences being unsheltered. Is there anything you want people to know about what that feels like when you're trying to survive on the streets in Victoria?
Yeah, the winter is rough. Maybe there's this misconception that, it isn't that bad because it doesn't get below freezing very often. Hypothermia risk in such a cold, humid environment is very severe, and it's always damp, so staying warm is impossible. And I had days where I just wanted to die, just end me now, God, just kill me over, I'm done, because I was so cold for so long. And I remember I had lost a bunch of weight too. Like, I'm not a big person, and I was down to about 90 pounds when I decided I was going to go to prison to survive. Because just staying warm, I was using up all my body fat. I had nothing left on me when I got arrested finally on purpose. So, yeah, I sheltered in prison last winter. So.
And what would you like to see happen in Victoria for people who are unsheltered right now?
I think there needs to be a lot more tolerance for the fact that people who are unhoused for mental health reasons. So there needs to be I think way better training for the staff who work at the shelters to be able to de-escalate rather than just ban. Try working with the person to de-escalate, because it's mental health related, almost always. That's what I want to see.
And do you want to speak on how it feels when you're sheltering in a park and you see bylaw pulling up?
Yeah. I was able to pack pretty light and kind of just forget about my possessions, and I would pack up my camp every morning. So they didn't bother me, but I certainly witnessed them bothering a lot of other people who were trying to, keep like a homestead going or something, if they had any possessions. Bylaw is merciless. They'll come in with the cops and they'll just take all your stuff and just toss it in a dumpster. And drive away, and all your stuff's just gone, and that's heartbreaking. It's subhuman.
And how has your experience been with the police in Victoria?
Yeah, that's been pretty bad too. They certainly have people on their shit list. Like, if they know that you're unhoused and the bylaws on your case, it's almost like they keep tabs on who they're going to harass today, and they'll come around and find you, and they'll find a way to push your buttons. And the police are not very professional a lot of the times I've found.
And was there anything that did work in the system or that was helpful?
Yeah, once I got into prison, there was a guard who worked with me, and she saw that I needed a lot of assistance in trying to get back into housing again. And this guard kind of went to bat for me. And she was able to make a bunch of phone calls on my behalf to the sheltering system in Victoria to try to get me back into Rock Bay. And without that guard helping me, I would have been released onto the streets again without any housing in the middle of winter again. So that guard went a long way to help me, actually.
Yeah, it's always good to hear. Thank you. There's good people sprinkled everywhere. Thanks, Lee. Eliza, do you want to tell us a bit about your experience, family's experience in the system here?
For me, I've been in the system since the pandemic, and it's really hard to find places when you own dogs. So they're like, everywhere you have to have your dog under 30. Well, there's no dog pound under 30, sorry. My dogs are big, large, and so that's how I became into this system, because of my dogs. I won't give them up. So living in the shelter for me is okay, because I keep to myself and I help others. I'm a peer support work too with everyone around me, so I help everyone's issues and help the escalate stuff around me. And the staff, for me, they're pretty nice to me, and they're helpful because I ask nicely. It's hard. Depends on how you talk to our staff. They are helpful and they're not helpful. And it is true that they should have a tolerance for when people are freaking out. They're freaking out for a reason, not just because it is a situation that they had a meltdown. And I ask them after they're done freaking out, I'll talk to them and see what's up. Like, what can I do for you at this time and moment? Even if it's just listening to you, that's probably what they need. It's just listening. That's all. We'll all have bad days. It's not fair that our staff can have a bad day and get away with it, right? That's my experience seeing everyone around me. I haven't had that bad experience with them. But with my kids, it was like a struggle. They tend to lose papers. I just found out my son filled up his papers about 10 times now and lost them. So now I filled them out again for him and making sure that he gets the help he needs. And on the streets, they pick and choose who they're going to pick on. They pick on the ones that are quiet and not doing anything. I noticed too, bylaws or securities. The cops just come around and just tell everyone to go, so they all leave. But yeah, they need better rules for everyone to better themselves. Like, we need more places for them to talk and have parent support groups that they are out there. Why can't they have more for people that need it and feel comfortable? And that not just in the lobby. I'm sorry. It needs to be in a room where it's four walls and no one else can hear them as they're walking by. That's another thing that is another issue, is no space to talk or hang out and do stuff. It's open.
Oh, because rumors fly.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's not fair that they only hear part of the story and then they start. So I feel that we need a spot for that and open their minds again. Show them that they have life in them. I tell everyone I care about them. I'm not just my daughter. Everyone knows my daughter's finally living with me in the same building, and that whatnot, and I tell them I love them, and I care for them, and I want the best for them. If you don't have someone, it's me in your corner. It's just, we need to be all cheering, lifting again, not belittling or thinking we're better than that person. We all have skeletons in the closet. We all had trauma. We all were abused in one way or another. It's not just one tribe or culture or whatever you want to say. It's everyone. And I've seen it and I've heard it throughout my whole entire life. 45 years of my life. Since I was 5 years old, I've watched everything around me. And it's just getting worse and worse. Before it used to be where we all were a community and we all talked to each other and helped each other out. Now it's close your doors, don't talk, don't speak, don't be seen. That's not right. We need to let them have voices again in order to change what we want to change. And everybody wants a positive change, but we need to have more programs, proper programs for everyone. And the government not to rip it out from underneath them after the success that's happening for them. Oh, you're better now, let's take it away. No, you need to keep continuing. It's a continuous thing every day. And I keep telling everyone, 1 moment at a time is all you need to do. 2 tasks a day. That's it. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less. And it makes them feel better. As long as you give them encouragement, you know. For more housing, they need to have it where it's able to be suitable for each categories. Like the ones who have ADHD, for instance, be in one group, because then all of them can problem solve. And the people who are schizo have each other. It's like, why don't we just categorize them in groups if you're going to categorize us anyways? Put us in proper groups then, so we can get better and learn from each other. That's a solution.
What do you think about that, Lee?
That's a really good idea, because there is so much variety of mental health challenges that get dumped all together, and like the guy with like schizophrenia is freaking out the person who only has a mood problem, who's freaking out the person who's got a depressive episode happening, who's freaking out the autistic person who's also ADD, and everyone's kind of like clashing against everybody else in a way. I do think it would be, even just like if it was a drop in like a day program or something where someone, you could go somewhere with people who are experiencing a common condition,
yeah.
a common condition, and you could all at least develop that in common. At least you're not alone in that way. That's a good idea.
Yeah, encouraging more people to do stuff, solving their own problems. It's only up to us to be able to solve our stuff. We're only here to listen and to hold space and open the proper door for them. That's what I say. I just open doors.
Because so many of the people sheltering in the parks right now that we've spoken to were in shelters, were in housing, and were kicked out of multiple and feel like they can't go back. And even if they were offered a space, they feel like it's like a sensory overload. It's too chaotic, it's too loud, it's too noisy, it's too emotionally draining. And a lot of people with PTSD talk about the sounds, or if there's yelling, and then people who maybe start to feel panic attacks coming on, feel like they can't calm down in that environment. And so it just triggers a lot of people in a lot of ways. And so I can understand why they feel like that being outdoors in a park is a situation they can control better. But then now here we're heading into winter. And so I know the rain is coming this weekend, and I'm incredibly upset by the fact that we have seniors who are disabled in the parks right now and just along Douglas elsewhere, who are just left on their own right now. And I know that for our staff and volunteers, the last couple of days have been really, really rough because we're starting to reach people who sort of hide away and aren't in the system. And it's filled us with rage and grief and outrage that in Victoria, blocks from the ledge, with all the resources that we have in the city, that we know we have seniors in their 70s and 80s with severe disabilities who are just being left on their own. And I don't understand how we as a society can allow this to happen. But when I speak to them, they say that they find the living conditions in the shelters untenable for their mental health.
It's hard.
It's a mixture of everybody in the buildings. Yeah. You have different floors for different reasons. I know, because the first floor is like they have to be kept an eye on. That is why they're on the first level floor. Second is somewhat okay, normal, and then third should be okay, better, right? But it's not. It's all mixed all over the place. And again, it is, no one gets a chance to talk about how they feel, and then they blow up and they don't know how, and then it gets frustrating for them. And it's just like, I'm sorry, but like the drugs, I'm against those. I'd rather you smoke weed or CBD oil is better. It's natural. I'm sorry. I'm for that. I'm for marijuana for people to do, because it helps. It helps me too. And I know it's a good medicine. And it's better than all the pills, actually, because it calms the muscles in my body better than my pain pills that I take for my so-called fibromyalgia that I have. Or is it menopause? We don't know. It's like, body's a mystery, right? But also at the same time, it's not fair that we have to keep track and call every 3 months to see whereabouts we are at on the list, when they're like, oh, just call back. We don't know where you're at. Well, why do we have to call every 3 months if we don't know where we're at on the list?
And that's like one of the reasons we have the cell phones and the laptops in the park, is that we were just stunned how many people have not, like, their paperwork's not done, right? And it's like, where's the onus on all the, like, on government entities to just make it happen? And so I have a pile of papers here. I'm filling out people's disability paperwork, their CPP, and it was printed out for them 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And I just can't fathom how years can go by and their paperwork isn't done. I mean, it's pretty clear to me. It's hard for any of us to get any kind of paper. I know I get stressed out whenever I get an email from the government, or I have to fill out my form every month. Even though I know I'm approved, I'm on full disability, I still get stressed out. They're going to deny me, or something's going to go wrong. And I just can't even imagine how, like, if you don't have a phone, you don't have a laptop, you don't have, your stuff organized, and then the system just walks away and goes, well, you didn't do your paperwork, you didn't show up, you didn't call, and it makes no sense.
It's like, how many paperworks do you have to fill?
It's almost like, the housing situation is being run like an insurance company, where they're in the game of denying as many people as possible or something. It used to be every 6 months, and now it's every 3 months. And what's it going to be next? To call them once a week to make sure you're still on the list? Like, how bad?
Oh no, you need to call every week just to be a harass, just to show that you are wanting it that bad.
And if you're mentally not, doing well, people can't be expected to do that.
I know. Yeah. It's just, it's not fair. It's just like, I feel sorry for single moms that can't find houses. I feel sorry for single dads too, and I feel like, and seniors. And family of mom and dad, they don't have houses either, and it's just like ridiculous. And low income housings shouldn't be that high for them to be able to pay for the kids. Like, why do you have to pay for both your legs and arms just to survive and put a roof over your children's head and food and get them their education that they need? That's stressful as it is too. And it's not just a single parent or single people, it's everybody that's missing out in housing. I've heard people getting mad because they've been on the waiting list for 10 years.
Yeah.
Still waiting. And they call, I'm still waiting. Nothing. Again, where's the list? Why is there's this list huge and no numbers going down? Where are the papers going? Right? Unless you can have someone strong enough to advocate for yourself, for you, them.
Playing the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got to get, it's like as if you have to know the person inside just to get.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm grateful and thankful that all the workers I had around me to help me and my partner to get there, and my child, one child, but not my other one. Right.
And we hear all kinds of stories about how there are some people taking up some of the space in the rooms who are working in construction and making good wages,
Exactly.
single guys who just don't mind the environment and it's cheap for them. And then you hear about people who are really vulnerable waiting for a space, and it just feels like there's some disorganization there. And I know I've been touched by stories of people who can't have visitors in their room when it's their immediate family and they really need that bonding time together. And I also understand why there are rules, but it just feels like there needs to be more input from the people who are living through it to inform, and some flexibility and some humanity there to make it work for people. But it's just unacceptable right now that we have disabled seniors outside without proper shelter, and we're heading into November. So yeah, so I'm glad that you guys are going to be able to help, teach with the classes and inform everybody that, what it's like and what can be done to improve the situation. And we need our policymakers and people in government and people working in the social service sector to really listen to the voices of lived experience, because that's the expertise, and to be flexible thinkers and to really listen to what people are saying. So we're going to be doing lots more podcasts on this subject, but I'm just thrilled to have Lee and Eliza on board, and let's make some changes for everybody. Thanks, guys.